Ivy and Bean break the fossil record. Written by Annie Barrows. Illustrated by Sophie Blackall. Drop everything. Boring. 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 Bean turned her book upside down and tried to read it that way. Cool. Well, sort of cool. No, boring. Bean sighed and turned her book back right side up. It was a book about cats that she had picked up from the school library. There was a different cat on each page. Bean liked cats, but reading about them was driving her crazy. All the cats looked the same, except the Sphinx cat, who didn't have any fur. He looked halfway between a dog and a rat. Bean liked him the best. I bet Ivy's never seen a Sphinx cat, thought Bean. She knew she wasn't supposed to talk during Drop Everything and Read, so she poked Ivy in the ribs. Ivy's eyes were binging across the pages of her book. Bing, bing, bing. She looked like she was watching a ping-pong game. She didn't even notice Bean. So Bean poked her again. Hey, she whispered. Earth to Ivy. Ivy mumbled. Looky here, it's a dog rat, Bean whispered louder. Ivy looked for a little tiny second. Oh, she said, and went back to reading. Bean sighed again. All the other kids in Miss Arubatate's second grade classroom were bent over their books. Even Eric, who usually fell out of his chair 2 or 3 times during Drop Everything and Read, was quiet. He had a book about man-eating sharks. McAdam was picking his nose. Bean raised her hand. Miss Arubatate didn't see because she was reading too, so Bean called out, Miss Arubatate! Shh, whispered Miss Arubatate. What is it, Bean? There's a problem, and it starts with M, began Bean, looking hard at McAdam. And then N and P. She wiggled her finger next to her nose, just in case Miss Arubatate needed an extra hint. Miss Arubatate looked at McAdam, too. Then she put down her book and came over to Bean's table. I brought this from home especially for you, Bean, she said, holding out a big, shiny book. See, she pointed at the cover. It's the amazing book of world records. I think you'll like it. Bean wasn't sure. What's a world record? When someone does something better or longer or weirder than anyone else in the whole world, that means they've set a world record. Weirder? Bean asked. That sounded interesting. Miss Arubatate smiled. There's a man in here who walked on his hands for 870 miles. You mean on his hands and knees? Like a baby? No, just on his hands, with his feet in the air, said Miss Arubatate. No way! Read the book, you'll see. Miss Arubatate returned to her chair. Bean opened the shiny cover. On the very first page, there was a picture of a woman whose black hair trailed behind her like a fancy cape. Bean read that the hair was 19 feet long and that the woman had been growing it since she was 12. Wow, thought Bean. Doesn't it get dirt and bugs in it? Bean turned the page. Ew, a man was eating a scorpion. Double ew, he ate 30 scorpions a day. On the next page was a picture of a boy with 256 straws in his mouth. What did his mouth look like when there were no straws in it? Big and slobbery, Bean guessed. Ivy, she whispered. Ivy. Ivy's eyes stopped binging back and forth. What? Check this out. Carpet vipers, hula hoops, and 2 million teeth. He stuck 159 clothespins on his face, shouted Eric. Look at him. It was recess, but instead of soccer or jump rope or monkey bars, The second graders were huddled under the play structure. At the center of the circle were Bean and her book. Kids pulled the book back and forth, all trying to look at the pages at the same time. "Look at her 99 hula hoops at once," Vanessa squeaked. "Around her neck, too." "Look at this turnip. It weighs 39 pounds, said Doucet. "Gross. I hate turnips," Eric said. "My mom made me eat one once, and I spit it into the heater." "I hate lima beans," said Doucet. Bean pulled the book back in her direction. After all, Miss Arubitate had brought it especially for her. "This guy has had more broken bones than any living human," read Bean. In the picture, he was smiling happily. "He's broken his leg 14 times. "On purpose?" asked Emma. "I guess so," said Bean. "He jumps off of buildings." Drew slid the book his way. "Hey, this guy collects teeth. He has 2 million teeth." "This is the world's most poisonous snake," read Leo, pointing to another picture. "It's called the carpet viper." "Does it live in carpets?" asked Zuzu. She looked worried. "In India and Africa," said Leo. "Not here." Bean slid the book back her way. "Look, Zuzu! This girl did 109 cartwheels in a row." "Let me see that!" Zuzu grabbed the book and looked closely at the picture of a teenage girl in tights. "I bet I could do 110. "Bet you couldn't," said Eric. He grabbed the book from Zuzu and flipped through the pages. "This dude, he ate 400 M&Ms in 1 minute, it says." "That's nothing. I bet I could eat 1,000 in 1 minute if I didn't chew." "You'd choke," warned Leo. "No, I've had lots of practice," said Eric. "Look," said Bean, reaching over Eric's shoulder and flipping pages. "Look at this kid. He's only a kid, and he made a world record for hanging spoons on his face. 15, no glue either." "How do they stick?" asked Ivy, looking up from her book. "I can't tell," Bean said. "Sweat, maybe." "Why would anyone hang spoons on their face?" "I don't know, but he made a world record." Bean looked at the picture. The kid was covered with spoons, but he still looked proud and happy because he had set a world record. "I'm going to do 16 spoons," said Emma, staring at the picture. "Hey, I was going to do 16, said Bean. She wanted to set a record and have her picture in the amazing book of world records. Spoons seemed pretty easy, and unlike some of the records, spoons didn't hurt. But now Emma had dibs. Dang. "I'm going to eat 500 M&Ms in a minute," Eric said. "Where are you going to get 500 M&Ms? asked Doucet. Eric thought for a moment. "My uncle gave me $10 for my birthday. My dad said I could spend it on anything I want." "I'm going to do 111 cartwheels," said Zuzu, tucking her pink shirt into her pink pants and reclipping her hair. Emma and Zuzu walked off looking important. Bean felt left out. What could she do? She flipped through the pages until she came to a picture of a woman holding a broken glass. What? Was there a record for breaking the most glasses? No, the woman had broken it by singing in a really high voice. "Ah," sang Bean, but softly. Ivy was still reading. "What's that book about, anyway?" asked Bean. When Ivy looked up, her eyes were shining. This girl, Mary Anning was her name. She found the first whole ichthyosaur fossil in the world. She was only 12 when she did it too. She lived near the beach, and one day she saw a skeleton facing the cliffs. So she dug it out. It took her a long time, and everybody made fun of her, But she didn't care, and it was an ichthyosaur. Only nobody knew about dinosaurs then. She also found a plesiosaur and a pterodactyl. See, this is her. Ivy showed Bean a picture of a girl in a tall hat. She wasn't very pretty, but she was famous and important. Bean sighed. She was unfamous and unimportant. There had to be some way she could fix that.